it's a piece of the puzzle, right? There's not one answer. I think that's why so many people are seeking so many different options. There is no one answer.
Welcome to the Council of Dudes podcast. I'm your host, Vinny Brusco. I am a father, a husband, the founder of Agora Social Club, a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a certified life coach, and a facilitator of the Council of Dudes men's group. This podcast is here to help you tap into and follow your golden thread, that feeling that pulls you forward to become the best version of yourself. If you're someone who's into personal development and self-help and is looking to live a life of more alignment, then this is the podcast for you. Subscribe to the channel, click the notification button, and follow along on the journey of the show.
This is Nicole Frontera from the Formula Med Spa at the Council of Dudes podcast.
And here we go.
Thank you very much for doing this. I don't do like a formal intro. We just jump right in.
Let's jump in.
So we met. You had a co-male event at the Formula Med Spa along with Seth from Tweeds. Yeah. And you were speaking on just essentially hormones and peptides and health and wellness in general. And I thought the way you delivered it was such a informative yet realistic and grounded approach, because peptides are now like the conversation, right? It's like the social, it's the new like organic in a degree. So the way you approached it had just such a realistic, honest approach. I was like, all right, I gotta have her on the podcast and kind of dive into the deeper part of the peptides that aren't discussed when you're just kind of having these conversations. Because I think it's important to bring it to light in the sense that there's so much going on. So how did you get into peptides and health and wellness? And
Yeah, so my background is aesthetics. So I've been doing aesthetics for 20 years now. I worked in plastic surgery and I opened my own practice about 14 years ago and just did, injectables, Botox, fillers, lasers, all the things that make people feel good. After years of just treating people, you realize that you're making people look better. So it's great. People feel better. They feel more confident. But you realize that there's still you're treating the outside, but that wouldn't happens on the inside. And I just would have complaints constantly of people like, I don't feel good. I'm perimenopausal. All of the things that especially women go through as they age and progress. And it's like, here I am making people feel better, but they're not, their insides are broken. They're still not really, so I'm like, yeah, they look better, but they're not still feeling like themselves. They're not feeling 100%. And it became like daunting because as an aging woman at the time, I was like in my 30s and I'm like, I don't want to look forward to, my 50s and, because it's just, people go through things as they age and it just didn't feel appetizing. So I said, I have to do something here. I have to get into not just making people feel better look-wise, but
Right.
also getting into making people, feel healthier and wellness.
yeah,
And that's really what brought me to the whole idea of taking classes. And I went to my first hormone replacement course. And I started doing hormone replacement. And then what happened was you start fixing people's hormones, and largely my clientele are women. And then all of a sudden I started getting all the men in because women were going home
yeah.
feeling better.
Right.
And then they were like, wait a minute, I got to see what's going on here. So then, my patient population, kind of opened up to seeing more men.
Yeah.
So that's how it all started. And it's just, it's great because you make people feel better on the inside and the out. And that's really important.
Yeah, I think, and especially in this like social media driven instant gratification world, we think that we can, Amazon Prime our results, right? It's like, oh, I could, if I look better. And there's so many times where like I feel kind of down and out and then I'll get a haircut. I'm like, oh, there's like a meme. It's like, I wasn't depressed. I just needed a haircut. Right. And there is something to that like you start to feel better, you look better, but that only lasts, the shelf life of that is only so long, right? After the hair starts to grow back in, you start to go back. And so when you start to dive into and peel back the layers of the person themselves, yes, the outside may look all well and shiny, but what's going on the inside on a deeper level, both on a hormonal sense and an emotional sense, which I think is an important component of this, which you touched on, is so much more impactful, empowering.
That's right. I mean, it's amazing what happens, especially to our mood when you optimize hormones. And that's really why with this whole peptide conversation, yes, it's great. I mean, there are ways we can add things in, but the baseline of like what's the root cause. Where is everything coming from? Are we eating healthy? Are hormones regulated properly? That kind of peels into everything, you know? So just diving straight to peptides isn't always sort of the answer, right?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, you think about the diet, you think about working out. There's so many different components, and one starts to feed the other, right? You start to work out, you feel a little better, you don't want to eat like shit, then you don't want to eat like shit. So, it does become this ecosystem, but that is also kind of, for me at least, it's a fragile thing, right? Because almost at any point, the wheel can come off the wagon, and now we're like, what is our foundation really, deeper than just working out, deeper than what's my diet, what's my mental capacity, my mental state. So in working with these people and kind of peeling back those layers, first you're dealing with them on an external beauty or an external kind of feeling good, but then what was kind of like the common thread besides just the hormone? Was there like kind of something there that people were depressed or?
Yeah, I think it's like anxiety. I think that, a lot of people experience increased anxiety as we age. And I think, and largely it comes from the hormone depletion. As we age, as the hormones decrease, people get anxious, and it's not just women. Of course, with women, we have something, we have a menopause.
Right,
But with men, the same thing happens.
right,
And it kind of explains itself the same way. Men will get depressed, they'll get more anxious, and people will say, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I feel like all of a sudden I'm very anxious. And so yeah, you're making them look better.
right.
Then, now what I found is that when we optimize hormones, people look better, and now they're like, "Oh my god, I have the energy to go to the gym. I sleep better at night. I have, I can do this. I have a sex drive. I have all of these things that were kind of depleting."
Right. How do you start that conversation? Because I'm sure there is an ego, especially when it comes to men, where there's like this grunt work. I need to just kind of push through because obviously when you start dealing with like your hormones, there's this idea of like, all right, well, there's a testosterone. Like, there's all these kind of you're introducing something new into the ecosystem of yourself, right? And then is it you have to stay on forever? What does all that look like? So how are you kind of starting that conversation with people?
Well, I mean, in the beginning, it was like, we're offering this new service, and
Right.
here we are. And like, if you're interested, let's talk about it.
Right.
Um, Actually, I always start the conversation of like, I did it myself, right? Like, so I was at the time, I was 39, and I went to take this course, and I said, who better but myself?
Right.
I'm going to be patient zero,
Yeah.
and I'm going to
Yeah.
do it myself. And I want to see how it changes me and how it makes me feel. So of course, at 40, you're not really, I also didn't think I had any issues. I was working out. I had energy. I was sleeping okay. But then a couple of weeks later, after getting my first dose I started with testosterone because I'm not postmenopausal, and I was better. I was like, wow, I'm sleeping better. I have more energy. My workouts are more efficient. And my body started changing. The body that I wanted for so many years of working out, but not really seeing that result, I was actually starting to get. So it kind of came from an internal place of like, this was my experience,
Yeah.
and I feel better.
But what about like the old like and you do hear that like, oh well, I work out, I don't see any changes, I don't see any of this. Like how much of that is hormonal and how much of that is like, you need to like because it's a lot of factors, right? Like it's just you can't just work out, right? You can't what's the old expression? You can't outwork a bad diet, right? So there is this other component of like you eat better, making sure your macros are right and everything's dialed in. And there's a hormonal piece that maybe is contributing, but it's not the underlying issue.
Correct. It's not the end all is all, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes actually I've overtalked it, right? I've overtalked it to people, and they were like, well, you told me I was going to feel so much better. And I don't know that I feel that much better. And I'm like, you have to dial in, it's a piece of the puzzle. It's a piece of the pie. Obviously, I'm not perfect all the time, but I do a little bit of everything, and that kind of helps you get to the place where you want to be, so
That's interesting.
it's not the solution, which is back to the whole peptide conversation, which is
Yeah.
why that's not going to fix if you're not fixed. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, you have to start from within. You have to dial back your diet. You have to eat healthier. I mean, the gut is responsible for everything. So it stems there. And I did all of those things. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's a piece of the puzzle, right? There's not one answer. I think that's why so many people are seeking so many different options. There is no one answer.
Yeah. So someone comes into you and they're like, "Hey, I feel anxious, I feel depressed, male or female," and I'm sure there's a little different roadmap for each one of them. But so I feel depressed, I feel anxious, I'm sleeping okay, I work out here and there, whatever it is. My diet's okay. What is your first step outside of just that initial conversation? So obviously, I think most people will be like, "Oh, can you put me out there? Can you? What is your kind of path to guiding them towards something that's going to enhance their life versus just throwing them on something?" And obviously that's your approach, which I appreciate.
Well, the first thing is blood work, right? We
Yeah.
have to really,
Which you did mine, and we're going to dive into that, which
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited for.
Yeah.
So
we
a little
have
nervous,
to-
but excited overall.
yeah, of course. We have to have evidence, right? We're
Yeah.
just gonna just go off of again, and this is the problem with the internet and getting peptides on your own, because you don't know your baseline. You don't know what's going on in your body, what's happening. Is your cortisol elevated? Are you sleeping well? So we do blood work. So that's the initial. We want to know where you stand, right? What your baseline is. And then from there, it's conversational of like, what's happening? What do you feel? What are your symptoms? Let's come up and devise a plan that hits and meets your requirements as far as your symptoms. We want to help you feel better, but let's also educate you on what's happening inside.
Yeah. Now, are there certain? I know you kind of discussed it when we were in the group. There's certain brackets, right, for people to have certain level of testosterone and so forth and so on. So, kind of dive into those brackets and where people should be. And then you were kind of talking, if you don't mind talking about you. When we met to do my blood work, you're talking about your son a little bit,
Yep.
and how there's just really no guidelines of what testosterone should be for younger men. So, how did you kind of dive into those different brackets and stuff?
Yeah. So what's interesting is like the normal level of testosterone that's for men. Let's take men as an example, because there really are no norms for women of what like the range. We kind of go on. I've learned from a company that gives us guidelines because they've done years and years and years of research.
Is that only testosterone related, or is that
Yeah.
like so? Do women have a range for estrogen,
They do. Yeah.
and then do men not have a range for estrogen?
They do. Men also have
Oh,
a
okay.
range
Interesting.
for estrogen and for testosterone, but women, the testosterone question is sort of like so many doctors don't believe in testosterone for women, which is very interesting. But when it comes to men, the normal range of testosterone ranges from like 200s up to 800 as a normal range. So could you imagine how you feel at 200 versus how you feel at 800? It's a completely different thing. So the
Yeah, if
fact
you're a
that
guy
we
at walking around
have
200 and then all of a sudden you get to 800, you're a different human.
completely different,
You're just
Completely different.
you're operating on a totally different level.
totally different level. So it's interesting. It's like, how are we calling that normal? And of course, people equate, especially in men, testosterone of like building muscle, bodybuilding, but there is evidence of what happens as your testosterone lowers, how your incidence of disease goes up. So it's not just about testosterone. Oh, I want to be more fit. I want to have more energy. I want to have a higher sex drive. It's more about, it's actually, it's affecting you negatively for your health and well-being to have lower levels of testosterone. So it's interesting how we're not thinking of it from a health perspective, because we can decrease all-cause mortality with optimizing testosterone. Everything coming from Alzheimer's, heart disease. The list goes on. There are so many reasons to optimize testosterone and
Yeah.
optimize it correctly, and not have people at 200, but have people at maybe 800.
Right.
Right? So it doesn't mean we have to bring people to the bodybuilding to
The enhanced games that just
no.
happened. Yeah, yeah.
It's about regulating it and bringing people to the levels that make them healthier.
Yeah.
And that
But
exists.
but there is a concern there that if I do go, it's weird because it's almost like I can only speak for myself, but anytime you're kind of optimized, and that word gets overused now, it feels like, but is this really me? Like I'll be dialed in like my diet and working out, and I'm like, yeah, but this is because I'm like I feel this good because I'm really dialed in. It's like, yeah, but what's wrong with that, right? Like there's almost like this culture stigma of feeling good, and then if you do something like testosterone or whatever it is to enhance that feeling, it's like, oh, they're on testosterone, like. It's this weird kind of stigma that gets tied into, I think, at the root, feeling good, and then expressed in that in all these different things, whether it be working out, diet, yoga, eating, drinking water, athletic greens, whatever modality you have to make yourself feel optimized. There's this stigma around that when it's not just natural. And what is natural at this
I
stage?
mean, but it is.
Right.
Our body we have receptors on every organ in our body for testosterone. If the body didn't want it, it wouldn't have a receptor for it. We need it. I think, having that misconception of like, oh, so like what, you're cheating, right?
Yeah.
You're on testosterone, you're cheating. So why should I live my life not feeling better
Right.
or being better?
Right. But there is this idea of I have to be on for the rest of my life. So talk about like that process, because we talked about the Wolverine peptide. That's kind of I've heard a lot of guys talk about recovery and whatever it may be. Is there a cycling process to that too? Like, hey, I feel better. I don't need to, like, my knees don't ricket anymore. I can kind of wean my way off of that, or is that a cold stop? And
Yeah, I think
what does that look
I
like?
think with peptides, it's different. That yes, there is a cycle on, cycle off, or maybe you're on a certain peptide and you feel better, and now you've, like, for example, you've healed an injury, so we're gonna move on from that. With hormones, I'll be on testosterone forever.
Right. Does that
And
concern you at all?
no, why?
It's like, no, why would that concern?
I
Because
mean,
some people would
it's
have
just
that idea,
there.
right? No, but
You
people
know.
would have that, and maybe it's just me being like kind of having that lens, but there's this idea of like, oh, you're on that for the rest of your life. But it better that than diabetes medication,
Correct.
right? Like you might be on blood thinners for the rest of your life. So,
Right. If again, like, we're supposed to have it. Why are we depriving ourselves of it if we can, right?
right.
If you have the means and you can do it, and you're otherwise healthy, and you talk to some of your providers if you have any medical conditions, there there is no negative to being having your hormones optimized, unless for women, like, for example, with breast cancer and all the things. But if you're healthy, like, yes, why not? I don't see why you wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
Uh, do you not want to feel better and look better and sleep better?
Yeah. What about from the male standpoint when it comes to fertility?
Yeah.
Because that's obviously a concern, because your body is now producing testosterone
Yes.
to offset. If you're at 200, it's now bringing you up to 700, 800, right? So now your body's going to say, oh, I don't need to produce testosterone anymore.
Yeah. So we don't in our clinic. So I have also a male provider, and he's amazing because I do think that the men feel much more comfortable talking to him. But we do not treat any people looking to start a family or younger with testosterone, because yes, it will um, delay your own bodily process of making it, and we don't want to have the idea of any issues with fertility. So this is for people who are in our clinic. I'm not saying people don't do it otherwise in other places. In our clinic, we only treat people who are done having their families, and they're at an age where they're seeing and feeling the decline. And here we go.
Yeah.
You know.
What are some, for both men and women, what are some kind of key elements to say, like, maybe I should get my blood work? I mean, obviously it's a good thing to do once a year, whatever it may be, but what are some things to look for when kind of thinking about this stuff? Because you mentioned sleep, you mentioned kind of energy. So what are some other components that people should be looking for?
I think most people, the symptoms they have is that they feel like they're not themselves. Their energies, of course, they're declining, their lack of motivation, um, the weight. People always come in and say, I don't know what's going on with me. I've done everything. I've dieted, exercised, and I can't lose this, weight that I've gained either menopausal or post baby.
Yeah,
But I mean, of course, everyone should be seeing their primary care provider
of course.
yearly. The problem is that a lot of times they don't check testosterone.
Wow.
So, it's not part of the puzzle for a lot of providers. And that's why people come to people like us, because they've been going to their primary care doctor. And unfortunately, the primary care doctors don't have the time anymore to really dive with patients.
Is that primarily the reason, just a matter of time, or?
I don't want to
Yeah,
think
sure. No, I understand.
negatively of,
Right, right.
I think that, of course, the doctors care, but I think that they don't have the time to and energy to put into a
Mm,
lot of those other conversations. And then, people go to their doctors, they don't feel heard, and then they have nowhere else to go. And then they're like, I heard you guys do wellness and sort of functional medicine. I would love to like get a little, blood work and analysis. And
yeah.
then it kind of goes from there.
So speaking on peptides, I was speaking to someone and they're like, "Oh, peptides," and just blanketly threw out like, "Oh," and sent me a link, and the link was coming from some over. I was like, "Oh, I'm probably going to avoid that." So how is the regulation with peptides? Because there are, I mean, we were talking a little bit before the show. There's some in phase 3. There's some that are on the brink of being FDA approved, but a lot of them aren't. So what's the I don't want to say the workaround, but what is the issue with why they're not getting FDA approved, or what's the hesitation with that?
I mean, that's not my area of expertise as much of knowing the inside info, but I think that there's a huge disconnect with the FDA and what these peptides can do.
Mm,
Um, they're largely helpful to do, to not put people on medications.
sure.
Um, and of course, the FDA has to, everyone has to make some money.
Sure.
So
A lot of red tape.
there's a lot going on with that. And then it's also like, for example, some of the peptides that are FDA approved for certain medical conditions, like you were asking about testosterone.
Yeah.
So that's FDA approved for HIV, muscle and fat loss. So we can't get that from a compounding pharmacy because it's already being used through the drug companies. So the drug companies are making
Oh.
money. Similar
So they basically have like a monopoly on it.
yeah, similar scenario with the GLP-1s and Ozempic, and
Right.
they don't want the compounding pharmacies to compound this medication because they want everyone to use the branded names Ozempic,
Right.
Manjaro,
Right. Ah, yeah, that makes
because
a lot.
that's what makes them money.
Yeah, of course, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, they have the stranglehold on it. So,
Correct.
why allow it to go anywhere else? You've got it, right? It is concerning though when you see these commercials with the Williams sisters or whatever. I don't know which Williams it is, I should say, right? I don't know which one it is, but the kind of default to, and you would think that she's in great shape and healthy and all these things, and you don't know obviously what's going on behind the scenes, of course, but it is concerning when you find out or hear, "Oh yeah, no, I'm on this thing, I'm on that thing," and whether it be peptides or GLP-1 or whatever it is, it seems like, again, I don't know, but it's just this. It's almost like when you find out how many people smoked weed, you're like, really? Like you're like sleigh riding with your kids, and like this mom's on an edible, and you're like, what's going on right now, right? It's like, okay, but it's somewhat concerning because are these people going through the right process? Are they really looking into losing the weight? And then all of a sudden you see some people and you're like, oh, that person lost like, and it's kind of like their face, and there is a change to them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against them. I think the
Yeah.
GLP-1s are largely helpful for not only weight loss. It's PCOS was just renamed, metabolic syndrome, and it's a metabolic syndrome. I think that there are so many people that have issues with their insulin and how to regulate that, and it's a problem in our country. I do believe largely it has to do with the processing of foods that we eat and the gut dysfunction that we have in this country.
Yeah.
So there are so many other moving pieces to it, but I mean, it's what's concerning is that people order them online on their own and they get it from these research pharmacies that are not regulated, um, and you don't know what's in it. So
Yeah.
that's the scarier part. I mean, we use a pharmacy that's called a 503B pharmacy, which is a highly regulatory pharmacy. And what people don't realize is that the 503B pharmacies, their products have to be at least within 3% of what they say it is on the bottle. So whatever the label reads.
So explain that a little bit.
So in order for something to be packaged up and labeled and distributed, it has from a 503B pharmacy, which is a very highly regulatory pharmacy, it has to be 3% within the guidelines of what it is. So if something says, I'm just giving an example,
Sure.
5 milligrams, it has to be 3%, within 3% of that 5 milligrams
Oh, okay.
that they control test it, right? The regular things that are on shelves, 30% is what's allowed. So plus or minus 30% from not a 503B pharmacy versus 3% from a regulatory pharmacy. So that means that they could put whatever dosage, whatever, and it doesn't even have to be in a very, exactly what they say it is.
Right. Well, that's like kind of like,
That's
and
scary.
yeah, that's very scary. And you think about like the food component of that. It's like labeling something organic and then reading the back of the label, like there's not even a real thing in this thing, right? It's like,
I mean, yeah, that whole process, but there's a difference. And so
Yeah.
that's why we tell people, like, some people will complain. They say, oh, I can get it cheaper online. I order from XYZ. And it's like, okay.
yeah, this isn't a party favor like that you're ordering from Amazon. Like this is a real serious thing that you're putting
And you're
into your body.
injecting it.
Yeah.
These peptides are injected.
Yeah. That's very scary.
So
So how did you get in working with such a high level pharmacy?
So when I took my hormone course, I joined this company. It's called Avexapel. It's a company that trains providers of all different backgrounds, nurse practitioners and doctors on, health and wellness, and they have a peptides component that they train you on. And through that company, we got set up with a pharmacy that's a 503B pharmacy. It's very highly regulatory, and that's what we feel comfortable doing. Can I buy products from a different pharmacy that's cheaper? Of course, but I wouldn't take it myself, nor would I prescribe it for one of my patients.
Yeah. Yeah, that is kind of weird that we have like such a such a way of working around it, right? It's like there's just this lens that we have of being able to kind of scoot around and be like, oh well, it's this, and the fact that they allow 30% of a delta is a lot. And again, you're putting this into your body. When you did my blood work, you talked about your son a little bit. He's 15 years old.
He's 15.
15. And it's interesting because, again, growing up, you don't think about, whether 15, 17, 42, for the most part, it's not a part of your conversation. Like maybe it is now for younger guys. I don't know. But you're not getting your blood work done and checking your testosterone levels, and whether it be high and average and normal or low, which is kind of concerning. So what made you think about kind of diving into exploring some of this stuff with your son? Because that's a hard conversation, especially from the mom's lens, right?
Yeah, well, more of just interest, personal interest of like, okay, like what's going on here, and I was curious. I was like, let me see like what his testosterone is, and it was pretty low. And I think largely it's the diet. I think it's like, it's the processing, it's even the things we put on our body, creams and the underwear, you wear. If you're not wearing 100% cotton and you're wearing nylon, I mean, these kids, they want these funky underwear.
Yeah.
And nylon is a plastic, and it's being absorbed through very porous areas of your body, So I think there's so much hormone disruption in our environment when it comes to like, just our clothes, our, what we put on our bodies, perfumes, deodorants, all of these things. And then, you add that a teenager who probably has more device time than you want them to have, who doesn't, we make our own growth hormone from between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. It's very important to sleep during those times. And if you're dysregulated because you're not sleeping, you're, watching TV on a device, these contribute. So, it kind of woke me up and really forced us. And I even detergent, I was like, okay, I'm changing all the external factors that I can control. Right. So
Give me your iPad.
well,
Yeah, good luck.
yeah, right. But, but changing some of those external factors, like different detergent, trying the different underwear, all of these things, better sleep, and just educating him too.
Yeah.
Of like, so I'm in this phase of like check and recheck,
Yeah.
because I'm along the way I want to see. So every year, I'm checking again. Like, let's see where it is.
How did he receive that? Was he like, "Oh, mom"?
He doesn't care.
No.
He doesn't care. Yeah. He thinks I'm crazy as my kids think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think I mean, it's an important conversation. I mean, and it's so many parents, I mean, my son's 7, we were kind of talking about before as well, is that, this idea like, am I too hard on him sometimes? And my daughter's 11, which is, so many times where I have to look at each other and go, oh man, her hormone, like she's starting, like it's starting. And you have to give them the grace, but so many parents, it's a hard conversation, whatever the conversation is, like whatever hard conversation needs to be had with your kid, it can be hard. And whether it be bullying in school or hormones or changing their underwear or whatever the conversation is, it can be very difficult. But for so long, I mean, I don't even know many parents that have a hormone conversation with their sons, maybe their daughter, because again, there's a actual process that takes place that needs explaining. But for guys, it's not like you're sitting down at 17, like, all right, dude, here's what's going on in your body. We learn about it, but like in this really antiquated way.
Right. And it's important. These are important conversations to have. Like, especially to identify if your child, God forbid, is having an issue, if they're not waking up with a morning erection and, all these things that like, this is important. Like
Yeah.
these young boys need to have their hormones dialed in. It's part of health. It's part of growing up. It's part of everything. So it's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's nature, right? Like it's natural to be, you know what I mean? Like, and that's why my son who's 7, when he's acting like a lunatic, I'm like, yeah, but he's like filled with piss and vinegar. Like that's what he's a 7-year-old boy. Like he should be tapping into that kind of, playing with stick. I'm like, dude, you got to, yeah. And as you're concerned and you love them, you don't want them to get hurt. But there's a part of that that's like, this is natural, and we have to let them be in their natural habitat.
Right.
Sitting in front of a screen or on a device all day, that's not natural, and that is doing something to your body. Like no different than adding in an X factor of diet, health, and wellness. It's doing something to your body that has become so socially acceptable and normalized that there has to be something that's happening on a deeper level.
It has to be.
Yeah. Anytime you introduce something new to your system, whether it be a diet, not drinking alcohol, peptides, testosterone, there's always this something is happening, right? Like I did carnivore based. Didn't have a grain of rice for 30, and I felt phenomenal. I told you I was eating carnivore only, drank a lot of coffee, still do, and was meditating. And when I got my blood work done, they're like, whatever you're doing, just keep on doing that. I didn't continue doing it, but there's an X factor. But there's always the concern, well, you're eating a lot of red meat. There has to be you're introducing something new to the system. So how do you manage kind of the introduction of peptides or testosterone or these new things? How do you manage that or oversee that as well?
We really just try to educate people of like, the more you do, better.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if that even is a sentence, but the more
I know what you mean.
the more you add
Yeah.
to this puzzle, because like I said before, the gut is the root of all evil. Well, it's the best thing that we have to take care of our gut, and leaky gut is a thing, and that causes every issue. So, and what happens is, and to your thing about meditation and why that was helping you, is because we now understand that increased cortisol, increased stress, increased levels of cortisol can contribute to leaky gut. So it can make people so some people will say, like, I had this crazy rash. All of a sudden I'm getting these rashes. Like, that's all coming from your gut. Everything skin related is coming from the gut. So we need to regulate our gut. And there's so many little pieces to that. It's not just what we eat, right?
Right.
It's also how you handle stress. So there's so many contributing factors. So if you can dial everything down, decrease your stress and, really pay attention to your diet, what you're eating, what you're putting in, and you'll make yourself better to begin with. And then you add in optimization of your hormones, maybe taking a peptide to aid and help with, for example, with sleep. So you can take Somorelin, which is a growth hormone secretagogue. It helps you up-regulate your own growth hormone production. You'll sleep better. So you get more efficient sleep. Therefore, your stress goes down, your cortisol will go down. If it'll help you increase muscle mass. It will help, decrease visceral fat or fat, that's inside of in your gut. And okay, so now that contributes. Now you're feeling better. So it's all little pieces and they all matter. Everything matters. It's not.
Yeah, and you talked about the food that's in this, in our culture. And when you see, I mean, obviously it's all Instagram, let's just be honest, but you see these people put like, Skittles in a thing of water, or they burn cheese. And it's like in Europe, this isn't even considered food. And it's like, this is what's, in our system. This is what's in our society at mass scale. Like even going to the movie, I went to the movies with my kids the other day, and my son wants gummy worms. And I'm like, all right,
My kids love it.
it's so, and then I when I was doing the carnivore thing, I was eating only raw dairy cheese. Like that was it, raw dairy cheese. And then I was making my daughter a sandwich of just like regular deli cheese, not even like packaged, like over the counter deli cheese, nice, Land O'Lakes, Boar's Head, whatever it is. And I was like, I had a bite of it. I was like, this is it tastes so different. I mean, obviously I'm eating it now, right? But I went right back into it. But that first initial bite, I was like, oh my God, how did I ever eat this?
I taste I always tell my husband, I always tell him, I'm like, stop with the bread. If you take a bite of like store-bought bread, it tastes like chemicals. All I could taste is chemicals versus like, a bread with 2 ingredients,
Right.
or 3 ingredients, water, salt,
Flour.
But it's disgusting. You can like the more you train your body to eat cleaner foods, then you eat this horrific crap, really.
Yeah.
You can taste it. It just tastes like chemicals. It doesn't even taste good.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. It really, and it doesn't take that big of a window to have
Figure it
the
out.
yeah. Yeah. I did like 30 days, and it was very like it was beyond. I mean, my brain's like, how did I ever eat this stuff? And then all of a sudden your body goes right back to being like, okay, it normalizes it very, very quickly. Which on the other side of it, but once you start eating healthy, which is such even a crazy thing to say because it's just eating like real food. Right. It's like, oh, this is healthy eating. But you become the weirdo. Like I remember being at like the day job, and I'd have like ground beef and honey and blueberries, and that was pretty much my food. And like, what are you eating? I'm like, you're having a hero from the deli. Like, right. Who's the weirdo here? But you're the odd man out when you start to eat like that.
Hi everyone, I'm Vinny Brusco, founder and CEO of Agora Social Club. I'm also all of these things. Agora Social Club is Westchester County's hub for guys' mental fitness. Let me show you how we're revolutionizing the future of men's mental health. All accessible via key fob as a member, Agora Social Club seamlessly blends the community, comfortability, and convenience of a coffee shop, community workspace, gym, and recovery center. Since opening in April of 2024, Agora Social Club has helped hundreds of guys become better men. Through our men's groups, dads groups, community ruck walks, and 5Ks, guys are finding a deeper sense of connection through community. But don't just take my word for it. Check out our 5-star Google reviews where guys are sharing their transformative experiences. So what's next? We're looking for an investor to help us build Agora 2.0, a flagship location located right here in Larchmont, offering our members even more space, more amenities, and more community. By the end of 2030, we're targeting multiple locations in 4 major U.S. cities. We're excited to share our vision of the future of men's mental fitness.
I want to dive into the blood work. Right. Can we dive into this? Yeah. So you took, I don't know what you did. So just explain what you did and kind of what we're looking at here.
So this is just I'm just pulling up your blood work. Okay. So we just do kind of an initial dive, and this also we can go like I can do blood work that dives a little deeper.
Sure.
Based on the symptoms someone comes in and says. You were kind of coming in like, I don't have any major issues. I just kind of want to see where I am.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So everything's
she's like, no, you do have major issues.
Everything's normal.
Okay.
That's the other thing is quote unquote normal.
So what's something that would stand out that I should be looking at here?
All right, let's look at
what page?
What page is this? Page 3, I think. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So let's look at, the only thing that's really out of range would be your vitamin D. So,
which I said that was going to be the case.
Yeah. So you're at 23.8. So here we go again. Look at the normal range. If you look at the reference range, all
Yeah,
the way on the
30 to
30
100
to 100. Here we go again. It's like the vitamin D should be like 80, you know?
is my cholesterol considered high?
So cholesterol,
161.
we don't, in our clinic, the way we've learned, we don't go too crazy on cholesterol. You should see a cardiologist and do your calcium scoring
Sure.
and all the other things, all the pieces of the pie, to see really where you stand. I wouldn't go crazy.
Panic
on
over
that.
2?
No, no, I'm not panicking. Your triglycerides could be a little lower than 105, but again, not out of range.
Right.
But what else do we see here? So let's talk about your testosterone.
Let's go.
So you're at 389. So look at that range.
Wow. So let's just reference this for a second. Hold on. So the last time I did blood work, which I think
You said you were dialed in.
I was dialed in. This was probably 5 years, no, somewhere in that world. Let's go 4 or 5 years ago. I was 770.
So you see what natural.
770 to 389.
Yep.
Holy shit, that's concerning to me.
So you also too.
Yeah, but look at the scale, 160 to 853.
Well, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Also, the one thing about testosterone is it does go up and down during
Right.
the day, and
Right.
it's higher in the morning. So
Sure.
this was not an early morning draw, so
Sure.
it could be higher, right?
Yeah, but not. It's not gonna be 400 points higher.
Yeah.
Right.
Um.
Wow.
So
That kind of does explain some stuff, though.
right.
Like if I knew this, right, which now I do, I'm like, oh, that kind of makes sense, right? And my mentality, just very candidly, is like, the grunt work, or like, just gotta push through and wake up earlier and get up at 4 and do the workout, push through, you got this. It's like, yeah, right. So on a human level, on the David Goggins scale of Instagram, it's like, just push through. It's like, yeah, but maybe there's a part of me that I don't know that's saying like, yeah, you can't just push through. Like there's something that needs, you need some help.
Feeling something.
Yes.
And yes, there's an explanation as to why I'm feeling.
Wow.
And why not? So that's the whole idea. Like back to what you said earlier.
Yeah.
You're like, why not? Why wouldn't you want to feel better and be healthier?
Right.
It's not, we can easily get your testosterone up to 800 and you would feel amazing. And it's not like we're pushing you,
To the enhanced games.
right.
Right.
You're not going to be 1,500. I mean,
Right.
you could go up to 1,000. I mean, but 800 is a healthy level. It's a beautiful level.
I would have never thought I was at 389. I didn't think I was at 770 anymore. I was like, all right, that's probably pushing it. But I would never have thought I was at 389. That is kind of scary. That, and again, and life changes, right? Like
Everything changes.
everything changes.
Years gone by, age.
Right.
As we age.
Is there a drop off point? Like,
I don't know the answer to that. Like, I don't think that there is a percentage, and I forgot what it was. I know with women, I feel like it's every year your testosterone decreases by 50%, something like that, year over year. I don't know I feel like with hormones, it's hard to tell, and I
Sure.
don't think enough people are watching these numbers. I mean, other than the people in our industry that
Sure.
I've learned from, that do these studies and really look at testosterone and look at hormones very closely, and they do all the the clinical trials and all the studies for everything. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, lifestyle changes. When we were talking when you were doing the blow, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty stressed these days. And like, yeah, that
that's
is,
what you said. You
yeah.
said you weren't sleeping as well.
yep.
You weren't meditating.
No, my
and-
diet's all over the
and your
place.
diet, right?
The only thing that
So
stayed
there's-
consistent is the coffee. That's the only thing that stayed consistent since then. Yeah, but lifestyle, and again, from my lens, it's like, well, you could grit your way through this. Like you could figure it out. But then it feels like it's just like pushing the boulder up the hill, right? It's like you can get a couple steps up and then all of a sudden it just starts rolling back down. Yeah. What else should we be looking at besides my horrible testosterone levels?
I think everything else for you is pretty good. The other very common thing we see, which you don't have it, is the thyroid. That's another really important thing to look at. Your thyroid was pretty good.
Which one am I looking at?
So thyroid, it says thyroid comprehensive panel, free T3.
Yep.
That's one of the levels we really look at.
Is that free testosterone?
No, it's a T3.
Thyroid.
Is a thyroid.
But what about the free
hormone.
testosterone? That's a factor too, right?
Free and total, they kind of, so what's not bound and what's
Right.
total, they correlate together. So
Got it.
if you have a low, sometimes when you start replacing hormones, those numbers start not matching up because you already had a lot of free if you're replacing people's testosterone.
Right.
As the testosterone goes up, there are ways to handle and look at that. But overall, when you're low, those numbers are gonna.
Gotcha. They're gonna represent
Yeah.
being low. So going back to the
The
thyroid.
thyroid. So yours is good. One very common thing we see is, especially in this country, we have a lot of people that have Hashimoto's or autoimmune thyroid.
Mm-hmm.
The thyroid's basically attacking itself. That's all fully gut related, coming from eating processed foods and things like that. You don't have that, but that's another level that we see very commonly elevated. And the funny, actually, the crazy thing is that there are so many doctors that don't look at the antibodies for the thyroid. So they'll draw the thyroid levels and they won't look at the very important pieces of the thyroid, which is very interesting. So we do uncover that a lot where we have to educate people to maybe consider gluten-free and taking all processed foods out of their diet. And
It's just so crazy to even say.
Yeah.
Remove all the processed foods
As
out of
much
your
as you
diet.
can.
Yeah, of course.
so I had autoimmune thyroid. My they call them TPO antibodies, which is how we diagnose that. And I've reversed it. So
What did you do? What did you change?
like not eating processed, trying to for a while I was gluten-free. It is hard when you're eating out and
Living.
exactly.
Yeah.
But and then I take a very low dose thyroid medication to kind of help speed, and I was very symptomatic of low thyroid. And that's when you're tired, hair loss, your metabolism slows down. So you feel like you're working out and not losing any weight.
Yeah.
So these are very important. This is the baseline. So that's what we look at on everyone. And before we have the conversation about peptides, we want to look at this first.
Yeah.
What's happening in your body and what normal processes are not functioning correctly, so we can fix that first, and then you can go on a peptide if you wanted to enhance.
Right. Let's get back to like some form of normal baseline.
Right. To like correct the baseline first. You can, but you take peptides, yet the wheels, the whole self isn't fixed. You're not gonna fix it with the peptides.
Right.
Just putting a Band-Aid.
I think also a big part of it is what are these things affecting in your day to day, right? Because you could say, oh, I have low testosterone, but what is that actually like? What does that actually mean, right? Like, what does that mean to someone walking around the street saying, oh, they don't even know they have low testosterone, but there's all these symptoms? Or what is having, low a thyroid count that's all shot, or low vitamin D in my case? Like, how are these things affecting my psychological, like my mental, my physical, my spiritual to some degree? Like, how is it all affecting the ecosystem of the self? And then what can I actually do to enhance these things? Maybe it's not just diving into, testosterone replacement or peptides. Maybe it's like, all right, maybe I need to like really focus in on getting back to weight training, or focus in on getting back to eating more red meat and cutting out the carbs and stuff like that, right? And then that takes a lot of effort and energy. But then there is the other component of saying, yeah, but there's this other component that is purely hormonal, that it may go up a few ticks, but you are in this deficit area that's going to be a bigger delta to clear.
Correct. And if someone does, we're not here to just sell people hormones.
Which is why I enjoyed the conversation the way you facilitated was so rooted in like true health and wellness. And that's why I really appreciated it, because I was like, all right, she's not just like hawking off peptides here, like at the back of a van. Like, this is a very well thought out, like healthy approach to health and wellness, like overall health and wellness.
Right. And like you said, if someone comes in and they realize their testosterone's low and that is the answer for them, they're like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna dial in. I'm gonna lift more weights. I'm gonna sleep better. I'm gonna clean up my diet, and let's recheck in 3 months. Great.
Yeah.
That's a great approach. Let's recheck, see where you are. Maybe you don't need replacement. Maybe you do. So yeah, you can do all that. It's our job to diagnose it, right? We're telling you where you're deficient.
Right.
it's then your decision how you want to move forward.
Yeah.
Can you correct a lot of things with diet and, lifting weights and doing the things that naturally get your body going? Of course you can. And then let's see where you are. But, not everyone wants to do that.
Right.
Some people, they want the prescription, right? They want. So we're still going to do it in a healthy way. We don't want to inflict any, injury in
Of
some
course.
Of course. Like,
Of course.
number one is like, we're doing what's healthy,
Yeah.
which is why we're not just giving out Peptides and GLP-1s to people because like, I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay, great.
Go hit a treadmill.
Right. Yeah. And if there's a bigger issue and you can't, okay, well, let's first make sure nothing else is going on in your body.
Yeah.
And then, okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah. So if someone did come to you and say, like, listen, I do want to take a course, a route of enhancing these things. I still want to do the diet. I still want to dial in. I still want to work out, but I don't want to go with a traditional injection. What are some other options that are more natural to a degree?
Yeah, that's the hormones. Like, so for sure, hormones, the way we do it, so there's two options for men, especially with testosterone, is you could do what we call pellets, which is they're bioidentical. So they're identical to our testosterone, the molecule of testosterone. It's identical. So we put these testosterone pellets and we implant them. In men, we implant them like in the flank and like a fattier part of your body.
Yeah.
And they kind of release slowly over a couple of months. They're based off cardiac output, so your body dissolves it. It releases this slow amount of testosterone. And this is bioidentical. So when people say bioidentical hormone replacement, it means it's identical to the way our bodies do it naturally. Okay. So that's one way. The second way is to do shots, which a lot of men do testosterone shots, but it's testosterone cypionate, which is not exactly the same molecule as our own.
Right. You're just injecting it
You're
in.
injecting
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
And it's actually sourced from horse, typically.
Oh.
So it's not dangerous. I mean, there's studies for
Yeah, of
years,
course, yeah.
nothing that's dangerous, but you're injecting yourself weekly, sometimes twice a week. So it's a little bit, but it's not as bioidentical per se.
Right.
Right. So if there's a healthier way to do this, we do always recommend the pellets. So that's a great way to start, always optimizing your hormones. If people don't want to do any hormone therapy, that's fine too. We could do with, we do work with some nutraceuticals that can aid your body in helping you kind of produce your own testosterone. So there are a couple of supplements, like Shilajit is in one of the supplements that help you naturally boost up your own testosterone. I'm sure I'm not a nutraceutical expert, but I'm sure there are so many more. But that's an approach you can take, absolutely. And we're here to guide you through that. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a
And can you get to the levels through the non-hormone replacement route that you can with the hormone replacement route? Will it take longer, or is it just not achievable?
I haven't done that study to see
Yeah.
how.
That'd be interesting though. Yeah. It might take a longer route, right? You might get to 800 and it takes you 8 months, versus 803, right?
Right. I mean, that's a very interesting approach. I think the real issue is less people want to do that.
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite.
Yeah, no, that's great.
I'm like, all right, I gotta go. I'm like a fucking lazy piece of shit here. I gotta go hit the gym and start eating red meat again.
No, I would love. I mean, we should do that. You should. That'd be a great way for me to see it too.
Yeah.
But people, the problem is people want instant gratification, as you said.
Yeah, I do too. But it's like
They don't want to work for it. They
Yeah.
just want you to do it.
I know it is nice to have it done, but you also gotta
Yeah,
you gotta
I
bust
mean,
your shit.
Listen, we're all for people taking more natural approaches. I mean, it's a great way to do it. And then, like you said, if you can't on your own,
Right.
we can get you to a better place.
Yeah. The vitamin D thing, which again, when I first had the blood work done, a few years ago, that was a problem. I took the D3 5,000 IUs, whatever it is, a day, or whatever the number was. That's a lot of people are like, oh, well, you just live in New York and you don't go out in the sun enough. Is that like a viable excuse, or is that just like,
I think that.
or is that just kind of like bullshit?
I mean, no. I mean, obviously.
Yes, I get that, but like,
I mean, I just think that we're so poorly with our diets. There's no, like, you used to be able to eat foods and vegetables and get natural vitamin D from your, some of the vegetables. And now everything is so far from the farm. So the further away you get from the farm,
Yeah.
the less nutrients it has and less impact it has on our natural ability to. And that's why supplement, I mean, I take 1,000 supplements. It's, but I mean, my numbers are good.
Yeah.
Also taking, the supplements to help me.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing though. Like in my mind, like I don't know what the gap is. Mine's like, yeah, but you're not naturally this thing. I'm like, okay, yeah, and natural, like whatever that means, right? It's like, all right, so you want to just be naturally fucking feeling like shit? Like that's it makes no sense. Me neither. It's in my own brain though. What else should we be looking at this? Is there anything else that stands out to you?
I think everything else was like fine. Everything was great. I mean, you didn't have any other. Let me see. No, everything was perfect.
Right, so I'm not that bad.
No.
Other than my fucking shitty test. So is someone
The
like
thing that I would you could look at is your cortisol. We could do like a real cortisol test. Cortisol kind of goes up and down. So you'd have to really either do one way to really see if someone has increased cortisol is to do like a really early blood draw. It doesn't pay to do it midday because it's kind of like, you're all over the place. It's not a good, but you could kind of do it like a first thing in the
is that like you do like fasted?
You could do it fasted, but it has to be in the morning when you wake up. So you could do that. But if you know how to dial in, I would say if you want to try it more naturally, start
meditating again.
Get back to your meditation and kind of see from there.
Yeah. It's it does shine a light on a lot, in all honesty, and in a sense that I could look at the journey of then to now and see how life has increased stress and all these other factors. You're like, oh, how much of that really contributed to this? And there's always like the hindsight's 2020. Like, had I just stayed dialed in for all that time,
do that experiment because you could try and dial in and see, and then if it would be your proof. Like, what if your testosterone kind of still stays a little low?
Yeah. So I come into you. I'm like, yeah, I really don't want to dial in. I really want to know what you would prescribe me or what you would recommend, both on a peptide sense and then in regards to the testosterone. What would that look like? Because maybe there's someone watching and says, oh, I got my blood work done. It's 3 something or 4 something. So what would that look like for you, and what would you recommend?
I would first recommend replacing your testosterone. I think that's like the biggest thing for you. I think that it would help you with everything else as far as energy. You'd sleep better. Adding a peptide, you can, if you said to me, I just don't sleep, I can't sleep, then I would add in maybe like Somorelin. You're not overweight, so there's no need for a GLP-1. Now, some of the other peptides that are coming, like BPC 157, if you had an injury or
that's the Wolverine one, right?
Yeah.
I've heard amazing things about that.
Yeah.
Like my knees are rickety and my shoulders hurt 24 hours a day, but
you can add on. But I mean, the way we are in our clinic, we're not these big people that are like, okay, let's stack you with 10 different peptides. Let's do, like, I like to see what does what. Okay, so let's start you slow. There's no right or wrong answer to it. It's not that someone's wrong for then adding on 3 or 2 peptides. I just want, for myself, I like to know what worked, what didn't, right? So if you started 3 different things all at once, then you're like, well,
what really worked?
What really worked? What did that?
Yeah.
You can feel amazing with just the testosterone. So I want to know, like, let's start you on testosterone. Let's see how it goes. Let's get you optimized. Let's get you to the, to the level 800, let's say.
I'd be a different human at 800.
And then see how you are. And if you're great and you feel amazing, like $1 million, great. We keep you there. Why start a peptide,
All right.
So it's kind of like, I don't know. We live in this world of, I see it, I want it. I heard it, I want it. Why? You just want it?
Yeah, people don't even know what they're asking for.
They don't even know what it does.
That's crazy.
It's like, did you know? Like, oh, I heard it. I heard this is great, so I'm gonna try it. Okay, but what else is going on?
Right.
And it's not. And again, it's not. I'm not poo-pooing these people who are, dealing with peptides and helping.
Sure, no, but I think it's an important conversation to have because especially now, I mean, you hear it all the time. And then there's people, again, that you don't even realize, like, oh yeah, I'm on peptides. Like, really? Like, for what? Like, what? Like, how? Like, what does it do? Like, what did you struggle with? What was the thing, right? And unless you're having that conversation, you're just, and to your point, you're just kind of throwing out the baby with the bathwater and saying like, oh, I'm doing this and this and this, and I really don't know what the fuck's actually working, but I feel great. But it's like, okay, but
Yeah.
what are you like? What are you focusing on? Have you always been that kind of peel back the onion person?
I'm so the peel back the onion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even on yourself, like in the sense of like, what do you do besides kind of some of the health and wellness stuff to kind of learn more about yourself and kind of
Yeah.
dive into yourself more?
Yeah, so I do testosterone every 3 or 4 months. I do the pellets, and I cycle on and off of Somorelin, which is it helps me sleep. It helps me get better sleep. I'm a very light sleeper, so I can get this very interrupted night of sleep. When I remember, because you have to take it at night on an empty stomach, and sometimes I'm so tired I can't fall asleep and I forget. But yeah, those are two. So even for myself as a person that does this for a living, and and does wellness in our clinic, and we have access to everything. I'm not on 1,000 different peptides. You know, I'm taking one peptide.
Yeah. And do you do anything outside of that? I mean, obviously you mentioned working out, eating right. Is there anything else you do? Like, do you do meditating, journaling, anything like that?
So I just started reading the Bible this year.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So I'm on a Bible,
There's something happening in the world.
Yes.
That a lot. I mean, I've been reading the Bible now for I think almost 2 years now, 2 years and change, and it has been a very, very, my own spiritual journey has been amazing. Yeah. So what led you to do that?
I just, I think that as you get older and your kids get older and you fear more of, the unknown and what happens in life, and you realize you don't have control.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I needed to believe more
Yeah.
in something. And I was like, I feel like I need God. Like I need Jesus. Like I need
Yeah. It's beautiful.
I need to dial in with my connection with God. And it's helped me so much. Like, just like to know that there's something, and to have faith, and so that there's a reason, and this is my journey, and no matter what happens and who comes in and out of your life, especially owning a business and staff and all of the things, and just to know that, like, I feel like I feel like he always brings me something, you know what I mean? Like I get the messages, and I get so
The micro miracles, I call them. The small little nods of like, keep on going, you're doing great, and it's so important to have that in some form, right? For me, it's God. But again, for a long time, I would have been spiritual, or I was like, I believe in like the force and energy and like all that shit. And then, and then it just kind of was bubbling up, and it came to a point I was like, oh, that's what it really is, right? That's what you're really looking for. And there is something that's very soothing and comforting about that. That's beyond any peptides or any hormone replacement therapy or any diet or anything like that. It's this deeper knowing of the self, which is, I think, really, that's, I think, what a lot of people in health and wellness are really trying to help people get to. Right. And there's all these different expressions, whether it be men's groups or social clubs or, peptides or hormones. It's like, how do we get ourselves to knowing ourselves at a deeper level, and then pulling from that, right? Expressing ourselves from that space versus the constructs and the food and all the shit that's around us, and the iPhones and the wanting and the Amazon Primes. Like, how do we pull from a true source of self versus everything that's around us? And it becomes a totally different relationship. But then once you're in that space, like, all right, now how do I optimize that space? And then you can kind of dial into these other things.
Yeah. Just revisiting and working on yourself and realizing, like, wow, I need to learn from that and move forward. Everything happens for a reason, and just to learn from every experience and come out a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no better parallel of business and religion. Like, they really do. Like, you really start to understand how it's when you are doing something that you're doing, and it's so mission driven, and it comes from a true place. Like, again, in that panel that you hosted and you were facilitating, it was like, wow, this, like, she really is like, it's, like, you really care. Like, it's not just like here's a website for some peptides, and that could be one way, sure, but there's something you were saying, like, you have to get to like the deeper version of yourself and know what's really going on, and having the results now and saying, oh, I see where I was, I see where I am, and now how do I course correct to where I'm going?
That's right.
Right? And that's a whole different thing. And maybe it does involve testosterone, maybe it does involve peptides, but maybe it doesn't.
Right.
Right? And I think that your approach to it is so healthy and such a good lens, and I really, really appreciated it.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, that's what we do. You know, I mean, I love what I do. I love making people happy.
Yeah.
That's what got me into wellness, right? That's what got me into beauty, right? You make people happy because you make them look better. And now you can actually take it a step further where they feel better and they look better all under one roof. Like, who's better than us? And
Yeah.
and then it just shows because, if you're treating a woman, they bring their husband. If you're treating a man, he brings his wife. Like,
Yeah.
it's a testament of like how we're affecting people
Yeah.
positively. And that's what it's all about. It's like,
So what else do you guys do besides obviously the hormones and the peptides and the that's a huge component of your business, but what other services do you provide?
yeah, so my specialty is really injectables, so Botox, fillers.
So you'd make my 80-20 chopped meat forehead not look like 80-20 chopped meat forehead?
Botox.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
get a lot of men. Like I said, I have a male provider in our clinic, and we have a testosterone clinic, so we get a lot of men coming in, and then they'll be like, "Oh, so what else do you guys do here?
Yeah.
I could get some Botox, sure."
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then we have lasers and skin tightening things, all things. And my approach to beauty is the same as I do with hormones and wellness. Is that like, okay, let's peel back the onion. Let's start slow and steady. I don't just pump people up with fillers and make them look crazy. It's like, let's make a treatment plan. Let's have this relationship that's going to last us forever, where I continually protect your investment. You spent money. Let me show you how I could make you age better. And that's it.
Aging better,
Yeah.
more gracefully.
More gracefully.
That's all we could ask for.
That's it.
That's
It's a
all we
blessing that we're here. We continue. Right. It's just,
That's amazing. I know you have an appointment you have to get to, so I want to honor the time. Thank you for doing this.
thank you so much.
It was such a eye-opening experience, because now it's like, all right, and I have some work to do, right? And you could take the information and you could use it like anything, right? You could take it, you could let it debilitate you. I could end this phone and be like, fuck, I'm straight tired. What's wrong? What's wrong with me? And all this stuff. Or I could say, all right, I got some work to do, right? And let's see where that goes. And then you come up with a strategy and a game plan. And I really appreciate you, first off, sharing this with me. Thank you very much for doing it. Again, people should definitely come and check you out. Where can people find out your services if they want to stop in and find out more and just kind of have a consultation?
Yeah, so we have 2 locations. It's Nicole Frontera Beauty. That's our Queens location. And the Formula Med Spa is our Westchester location. We're also opening up a Staten Island location in a couple of weeks.
Who
So,
wants to go to Stanley? The people that live there.
yes.
I know you're a borough person like
I'm a
me,
borough,
so it's
I'm a Brooklyn girl through and through. So, yeah. But, yeah, come. We'd love to have you.
excellent. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. It was an absolute pleasure, and I got some homework to do. So
Thank you.
thank you.